our last panel. But we're continuing on the topic of collaboration, and there's another side, how to look at it from the corporate and startup synergy point of view. And without any further ado, I would like to welcome on the stage the moderator moderating this next panel, welcoming back on the stage from the Commercialization Reactor Fund with rich experience overseeing more than 50 deep tech startups, and she is deeply involved in many investment decisions. Let's welcome on the stage Miss Ilona Golchaka. Welcome, Ilona. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
And joining her for this talk, he is the head of innovation strategy and portfolio management at SCG Chemicals, also the co-founder of Sprint Accelerator in Thailand, Dr. Jirut Watum. Welcome. And joining them is the Innovation and Technology Advisor for Business Innovation Mobility at AGC Group, Mr. Sufyan El Abdouni. Welcome. Happy to see you here with us.
Happy.
And joining them back on the stage, contributing to Deep Tech Atelier for several years with his presence and his knowledge from, he is responsible for Deep Tech at Plug and Play Japan. Let's welcome Mr. Hayata Okubo. Welcome. Ilona, take it away.
Thank you so much. Welcome everyone once again to this last session of today. We're going to be speaking about the collaboration between industry and startups. To start it off, I would like to say that innovation doesn't happen in vacuum. It's the way when ideas collide, evolve, and actually emerge into something real. But this ride is not a smooth ride, because the speeds are different, the expectations are different, the cultures are different. In here today, we have an amazing opportunity to actually meet the leaders of different organizations that are driven by innovation. We have leaders of two companies, SCG Chemicals and AGS, coming from originally maybe from South Asia, but also having a huge presence in Europe. And we also have a very important ecosystem player like Plug and Play. And they're going to share with you a very practical experience of how collaboration with startups can be effective for big corporations. Maybe they will share some ideas about the pitfalls they can see on the way. But according to the statistics, 88% of the corporations say that collaboration with startups is important, meaning that this is not an option. It's a critical need that actually help big corporations to further develop and to survive as well, and also to compete with new technologies coming on the market with new players. I also know that in Asia, recently, the investments from the CVCs, which are corporate VCs, have increased 4 times in the recent 5 years. And my first question to start off will be, what's the motivation of your companies to actually collaborate with startups? That's an easy one, just to start off the discussion. And Jirut, the first question is for you. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe a little bit of my company, just
Sure.
to set the scene so people understand where I'm from. So Jirut from Thailand, so it's Southeast Asia. We are home of, like the regions is talking about 600 people. Growing population. We are petrochemical company, which is where I came from. But as a group, we do a lot of things. We do building material, we do logistics, we do paper, forestry. So many things to name. So why we motivate to work with startup with the history of company 100 years old. So you can think about a lot of traditional. If we want to break from that cage, we want something new. We want something breakthrough. We want something that challenging us. So that's why, looking at the startup, this is people that we are keen to explore, try to understand, try to learn from them. What is the challenge that they try to solve? There might be an opportunity that we can connect and create to build a new business for the group. That's the motivation we look for working with the startup.
I see. And does this move come from the top of the organization, or this is kind of the down to top approach?
I think you in corporate to drive success, you need a bit of both. Bottom up is good for initiating things, like okay, young people go out, understand the world outside. However, you always need a sponsor, a big influencer that can drive the chain, because you are challenging all the fundamental that company or the ladder hierarchy that we already built. So sometimes you also need to find balance between both from top down and also bottom up. Yeah.
All right. Sufyan, what about your company?
The key motivations in our side will be maybe having a quick access to innovations and new technologies, because we know all of us that startups are innovating more than corporates. We are very more slow compared to startups. So if you have to have a quick access to technologies and develop new innovations inside the company, we need to collaborate with startups. And maybe the second key points is doing POCs to validate the market quickly and analyze if the technology is working or not, and if the customer is interesting or not. And so for me, I think it's the two main key motivations, and it's completely aligned with our strategy of innovations in our company, because we want to target new market, we want to test new markets, we want to test new technologies, and with this way we can quickly test the market, test the innovations, and build something together with startups.
All right, but tell us a bit more on how you're structured, because I understand that you have the headquarters in Japan, but you are actually based all over the globe. I mean, in terms of different types of operations and also working with startups.
Yeah, our company is a Japanese company, so the big headquarters is in Japan, but we have different headquarters around the world. So we have one in Belgium, where I'm from, and one other in the US, in Detroit. And all these headquarters work a little bit together to co-create new innovations. And we had like a first team is called GTNet in our company. It's an innovation team who are doing a lot of tech scouting, finding startups, and link it to the right R&D centers where they can improve the technology or work with these startups. And it's our global organization. So we have like a big team who was doing tech scouting, and then we divided when they found a startup, interesting startup, they can provide it to the right R&D centers, and we have also different R&D centers around the world.
I see. Hayata, in terms of motivation, I know that your company is motivated enough to work between startups and industry, because let's say that's your core strategy. My question mostly is more about, do you see a higher activity from the corporate side to actually work with startups in the recent years, especially in Japan?
Yeah, I see like there's an increasing demand for like open innovations because most of the Japanese traditional companies' core businesses have been kind of shrinking. So they are becoming more like sensitive about the rising cost of in-house R&D, which is normally very slow and expensive. So that's why they want to reduce the technology risk, and they don't want to they want to avoid the kind of long-term horizontal investment that are not that are normally uncertain. So this kind of is driving force for the open innovation in Japan.
According to statistics, startups involved with corporations can ensure the decrease of the product development speed 30 to 40%. Again, that's a number that I know. But it also means that the speed of work is different, and how, let's say, you see corporations balance it out. And the question is also for both of you later on, because the speed of development is different at startup and at the corporation. So Hayata, how do you see it? How this is balanced?
So I think it's not balanced yet. So there are a lot of startups that are kind of struggling to speed up the decision-making process of large corporations. So that's still there, to be honest. And so I think for the corporates, speed-wise, it's quite difficult to kind of improve because of the Japanese company kind of structure. We have like a hierarchical company structure, which requires kind of consensus-based decision making. So it's not like always top-down or bottom-up. It's very complicated process. So it requires approval and agreement across the different departments and across the different layers of people. So this is not changing yet. So with that said, I think startups should understand that kind of decision-making process and do not expect, especially with the Japanese companies, they are not always the fast movers. They tend to be followers, especially like based on my experiences. So I think controlling the expectation of these startups as an ecosystem builder or supporter, we think is quite important thing. Yeah.
So you see your big role in this process as a facilitator of this
facilitating and sometimes if startups are kind of rushing to generate the revenue, we also work with the Europeans and Americans, so we sometimes make introductions to these people. So depending on the need, like immediate needs or the needs in front of them, we kind of change how we support these startups.
All right. Sofyan, I know that you have a different structure, and with this kind of distributed structure, maybe balancing the speeds is it different?
Yeah, I join completely what Hayata says. It's quite complex. You have a lot of structures and organizations, so you need to pass through all these steps. So in our department, what we decide to do is speeding the first step is validating the technology and the market quickly without having to pass all the structures. So we are a little bit independent with the small resources, small budgets to quickly validate or not the structures. So then we can already filter startups or innovations or technology will be not feasible at the end. So we want not to waste time to do all the procedures, to go all around the company and all the hierarchy of the company for at the end that the technology will not work or will not be adopted. So we have this small team, small department with all resources to validate quickly an idea. And it can go very fast at the beginning. But when it becomes serious, we return at the beginning of the steps. So we need to pass all the process and it takes time. And sometimes startups have struggling with us because it's quite complex and it takes time. And sometimes I don't understand also that it takes time because for them, taking a decision is taking 1 day or 1 week or maximum 1 month. For us, it's another scale. We are taking a decision after 3 months, 1 year, so it's completely different, and especially in Japanese companies.
Yeah, but just to add a positive comment on that, so there are some Japanese companies that are trying to change, and some of them decision making totally done in, for example, European branch or American branch. For example, AGC, TDK Ventures, Sony. These companies are kind of more agile and much faster than like typical traditional Japanese companies. So there are some companies that are faster than the average. So maybe working and focusing on these companies could be effective for the global startups.
I see. I think, from my perspective, I think this fast validation of ideas, let's say, without additional layers of decision, it's really interesting. I haven't heard of such approaches a lot, yeah.
It's but quite new in our
something to share as experience with other big corporations. Jirut, what about you? How is it done in Thailand, the balancing of the speeds?
I think this is always the same problem across the globe when corporate have to start working with startup, and I don't have the good solution, like a magic word that this will solve. But we have similar approach like AGC. So if you looking at coming in and raise money straight away, you probably facing a lot of challenge because many rounds of meeting, many letters that we need to walk our executive to understand what we are trying to do. However, if you come and try to like prove your concept, hey, this is gonna work, this is gonna help corporate to solve the problem or to gain more money, then we could form a small group of team, like bring you to the market, try your technology with the customer and build, like the storyline from that. And once you have the small success or, like proof of result, that could also help to be a springboard for us as well to, like talk with the executive. So I think similar, the same approach that I think corporate try to adopt and utilize is to speed up, to catch the pace of startup as well. So similar, the same.
Congratulations on that, really. Can you give an example of, let's say, a practical example of a success story? Let's say a startup working with your company.
Yep. So I think for us, one of the nice story we have is the collaboration with our mother company SCG with heat-based heat battery called Rondo. So we co-invest with Breakthrough Energy in US. And what the startup trying to do is they're trying to decarbonize hard to abate industry, which is for us, cement and chemical are their top priority. And when you start thinking about decarbonization, everybody thought, oh, it's going to be the long term, like very hard, big project, a lot of money. But I think the team, like utilize the same kind of like logic. So they break down the work into the small part. At the beginning, we invest because we want to decarbonize. However, we realize later on that the storage media that they use, the Rondo use, is something we can, as a company, able to produce and supply them. So instead of looking at building the pilot site for our cement, we start working and collaborate how to make the brick for Rondo to be able to supply, like for their system. So that turned the long-term goal of decarbonization into short or medium revenue, and that also drive, like the motivation from bottom up to, like people at the executive level want to sponsor this project further and further because, like decarbonization, we not reached that goal yet, but we start seeing, okay, how can we synergize? How can we move from 10 megawatt to, like 1 gigawatt kind of like heat storage battery? So that, like how we try to break down the work and, like lay out into, like a potential successful business.
Wow, that's really interesting. Do we understand correctly that, let's say, sustainability topic and this decarbonization is something that is a major focus for you and working with
when we invest,
yeah. All right. What about AGC?
I will maybe tell a small story about one success story that we had in the past. In 2018, I was participating to a plug-and-play event, and then I meet a startup who are developing a new kind of display who will allow us to project some information on glazing. And they use a simple glass and they put an adhesive on it to project information on it. The quality was not wow. There is some missing points, but I see that the display was very interesting. And in our side, in AGC, we had developed a glass, a special glass for this kind of applications, but we didn't find any display with this technology to have the compatibility between the display and the glass. And when I see this technology, I was like, wow, it's what we need to show it to our customer, because we went to the customer with this simple sheet of glass with a coating. Okay, nice, we like it, thank you. And then you leave and you don't have any business. And I proposed to this startup, okay, you have the good display, you don't have the good glass. We have the good glass, we don't have the good display. Let's collaborate together and create a new project. So we created together a new project, and we are able to project with this display on this glass. And it was amazing because the quality was so good. Then we decided to go to the same customer with this glass and with this display. They like it, so they want to take it. So we push the innovation internally to develop this glass and to become more mature. Then we developed a complete solutions, and it was a successful story because now after 5 years, we have the first business, and before the end of the year, a major OEM from Germany, they will put it on all their cars, this technology, and you will see it before the end of the year. And it was a successful story. Thanks to this startup, we had this kind of new business, and it's what, as we want to work, is not taking on a technology and sell it, it's working in collaboration with startup to create an innovative project, because now projects become more and more complex. We cannot do the project by yourself. And this project works because we have the chance to have a nice trust between us. We have confidence. We define the roles between EGC and this startup. The startup is focusing on display. They improve their display, and we improve our glass. And each company have a win-win situations. And I think it's how we need to work with startup, is helping them to grow up, and they help us to develop new products on our industrial lines, because we are a heavy companies, and having this technology will push us to challenge ourselves and to push the boundaries of glass.
I have a question. What happened to that startup?
They are yet alive. The issue with a startup in automotive, you need to have some grades of electronics to enter. You have a lot of regulations. So to win business, you need to fulfill all this grade. But they work well with OEMs. All the car manufacturer, they know them now, and they are now growing. They leverage, I think, 30 million euros as investments, and maybe next year we'll have maybe other investments. So this project show them, they put the light on them, and investors believe on them, because the project is industrialized. Is only that they don't have the chance to have the right homologations, papers to the OEM to be as a supplier of automotive market. And automotive is a special word.
Right, right. I have so many questions, starting, let's say, with who owns IP of this co-developed product, and let's say what kind of investment structures do you use? Yeah, but maybe we can discuss it later on. Yeah, Hayata, in the recent year, I think we spoke a year ago, any success stories within the plug and play that you would like to emphasize?
Yeah, maybe I can talk about the case of the SolarDAC, developing offshore floating solar power systems. They are based in Netherlands, and they are part of our program a few years ago. And they collaborated with the Tokyo Real Estate, which is one of the biggest developers in Japan. So a little bit of background. So in Japan, we are island, so we have limited land to install solar panels. So it's not like US or India. We cannot have like large scale of solar panels everywhere. So there is an increasing demand to improve efficiency of solar panels, or find the new locations to install solar panels. So that's why kind of their technology fits Japanese market. And Tokyo Real Estate and SolarDAC decided to apply for the grants from the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. And with that grant, they successfully installed the Japanese first offshore floating solar power system in Tokyo Bay Area. So I think, but going back to the speed, applying for the grant could be one of the ways to kind of speed up Japanese decision making, because grants has the kind of deadline. So that's maybe the smart way to push Japanese companies more quickly. And one of the success factors for this project is the SolarDAC identified all the necessary collaborators, including like component suppliers and EPC partners and inspection partners like Kyocera. So some of the introductions were facilitated by Plug and Play. So when you enter into the new market and collaborating with the manufacturing company, it's quite crucial to build all the supply chain. So in order to do that, finding a local partner who can give you guidance to access to the local stakeholders is quite crucial. So I think Plug and Play could play a role of kind of supporting overseas startups to come to Japan, because we have players from the various industries. So we have companies like material companies, EPC companies, construction companies, and automotive. So we can kind of help global startups to create all the supply chains in Japan. So that was kind of very successful case.
Yeah. For startups to understand whether they are ready for collaboration with industry, do you have a specific list, let's say a checkbox as well? This one is ready, I can introduce them to that or this particular company or not, or this is kind of
Sector-wise?
a checklist for startups to understand if they are ready for collaboration
So
with
I would
industry.
say there are
And this is question also for everyone, but starting with Hayato.
Say there are three things. One is strong IP protection. So IP should be protected enough in like appropriate measure. So that's one thing. And the second thing is the kind of prototype ready, I would say, or demonstration at least level, because just giving an idea to Japanese corporates creates nothing. So they are not good at like creating something from scratch. So I think prototype development capability is necessary. And third, this is not like mandatory, but some kind of safety protocols. Like, for example, if it's a new material startup, I want them to have at least like a safety data sheet or some like a safety instructions for Japanese corporates to deal with this new material. So from my experiences, these three are quite important to have a successful collaboration.
All right. Sofiane, what about you?
And for us, it's more, I like to work with TRL. Then we can see the technology readiness level. We can see where is the startup. And for me, I like to work with startups that have a TRL above 5, 6, because they are more mature. We are an industrial company, so we need to take a product and innovation and put it on our industrial line. So we will not do R&D from the scratch from TRL 1. And it's what we do. And the other things is to be aligned with our strategy, our vision, which kind of things we want to develop. For example, currently we are working on transparent displays. So if there is a startup working on transparent display, okay, and this startup is at TRL 5, there are 2 green lights, so we can bring it. And the last light is feeling. If you feel it's a good startup or not, it's pitching, having a contact with people, because at the end, collaboration is more relation with people than only a short list that you will put some case on it. So it's how we are doing currently with startups.
I see. But at the same time, let's say startups at TRL 4, in order to come to TRL 5 and 6, would need this collaboration with industry. And let's say this can speed up them being at TRL 6.
Yeah.
Is it something that can be an option? Or
we are not fixed at TRL 5 like a line.
Okay.
We can evaluate the case by case, but we need to see a demonstrators that show us, okay, we can do confidence on this technology, we can use it. We will not work with a startup which come with me with a slides and tell you, I have this idea, I want to do this, and chemical things is like this. We are not. It's not we want not to believe on them, but we have limited resources, and you need to put them on the right place to be able to create new projects. We are not able to wait 10 years after to develop a new project. So it's how we were working. So I tell TRL 5, but maybe it can be at the end of TRL 4, and then we help them to pass to TRL 5.
It's good to know. It's good to know. Chirut, what's your take on that?
I think what like Hayata and Sufin says is a kind of like a baseline. Maybe add one more on the execution. Execution, your commitment. I think this is something we also look into the company that they are ready to collaborate or work further or not. Like it depends on what kind of like commitment that you have. Sometimes like we ask them to test something a bit further. Like we try to see how they execute those commitments or deliver the result. So I think execution is always something corporate like to see how you come up to that.
All right. I'm thinking also, let's say, the readiness to talk to different types of people, because cultural differences also can matter from my perspective. Is this something that you also see very often? There might be great technology, but maybe not ability to work together? Is it an obstacle sometimes?
For me, I'm not see that as an obstacle. Of course, it's challenging. I would say, I use the word challenging. People from different culture, like sometimes some people straightforward, some people very reserved. However, if we communicate, if we try to align the goal, I think that will help solve, like all those different in culture. You have to be transparent in what you're looking for, what you ask. Corporate, we also transparent, like what can we give, what can we promise. The more you talk, the more you make the dialogue, the more you transparent your need. I think that will help resolve all those culture difference from my point of view. Yep.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that was a really interesting discussion, and I would like to thank you for, first of all, coming to Latvia and for your openness to work and to collaborate. And I think that startups in Latvia and in the Baltics will definitely use this opportunity. Thank you so much for Jirut, Sofyan, and Hayata, and for the audience for the listening to the panel discussion.
And thank you to Elon as well for the wonderful moderation. A round of applause. They do deserve it. Hats off to you for the energy at the end of the day. I hope that the recordings will be watched by policymakers and others to improve our startup ecosystem. Thank you very much. I will see you, gentlemen, tomorrow at the reverse pitches at 10 o'clock in the morning. And Elon, I will see you at the finals. And by the way, if you want to know who will be in the finals, I have the answer. So, if you want to be the first ones to find out who will be pitching on our stage tomorrow at the competition finals, well, here is the top 10. If you want to film it, take out your cameras, record it right now, or write it down. And the lucky 10 that are presenting tomorrow at the pitch finals. First of all, Acrometer. Secondly, Truffalo. Next up, Nionics. Then Biohifas, Picralida is also in the finals, Printimed joining them, Fresh Wave, Trashify Tech, WatchBuilt, and last but not least, Laureline Tech. Those are the top 10 that are presenting tomorrow in the finals, and I hope that you join me then.